Hello folks, Philly Boy J back here with another video, and today we're going to be making the world's best chili and beans. I said the world's best chili and beans. Once you taste this recipe, you will never go back to making chili and beans the way you used to, okay? So what we're going to do first, we're going to focus on the seasons that we're going to be using in our chili and beans. You're going to need some cumin season. You're going to need some chili powder. You're going to be using a lot of that, maybe about 1/4 to 1/2 cup. With the cumin, you're only going to be using about a tablespoon of that. You're only going to use probably like a tablespoon of black pepper. I would even recommend maybe a teaspoon because black pepper can make the chili really, really hot. And you're already going to be getting a little bit of a spicy taste from the chili powder. So don't use a lot of black pepper, probably about 1 teaspoon. I'm going to be using celery salt. And the reason I use celery salt is because I usually don't put celery in my chili and beans. So I'm going to be using celery salt to get that celery flavor. If you don't have celery salt, you can use regular salt or Lawry's season or even adobo season. Anything that has salt in it, you can use if you don't have celery salt. But I recommend you go out and get some celery salt. Gives it a really good flavor. Going to be using a very, very small amount of cayenne pepper. That's not a part of my recipe, but I want to try something different and add that. That's extremely hot. So you're probably going to go and use a 1/2 teaspoon of that if you decide to use it, just to give your chili a little spice. And you're going to use whole oregano, okay? And last but not least, light brown sugar. You don't have light brown sugar, dark brown sugar is okay. I know a lot of you are looking like, why is he adding sugar to his chili and beans? That's because I make the best. I said the best chili and beans in the whole wide world. So we do things a little different around here. We add some different ingredients sometimes. Okay, guys. Here are the other ingredients that you're going to need. You're going to need some minced garlic. If you don't have minced garlic, use a small garlic clove. Chop it up into really small pieces. And you can use that, but I recommend that you use some minced garlic. Going to need some beef broth. Probably going to use a small amount of this. If you don't have beef broth, you can use water. The water is going to turn into beef broth anyway. It's going to be flavored water once the juice from the beef and the seasons that you use are combined with the water. It's going to turn into like beef broth anyway. You're going to need some diced tomatoes. Make sure you get 1 can of diced tomatoes. You're going to need regular pasta sauce. Don't get sauce that has anything in it like mushrooms or meat. You only use stuff like that when you're making lasagna or spaghetti and meatballs. When you're making your chili and beans, you're going to just get regular traditional pasta sauce. And you're going to need some tomato paste. That's going to add thickness to your sauce and it's going to give it color. Okay? So make sure you have all of those ingredients as well. You're going to need those. And the beans that you're going to be putting in your chili are red kidney beans and pinto beans. Okay? So make sure you have red kidney beans. Get a can of red kidney beans and make sure you have a can of pinto beans, okay? That's what I like to use in my chili. You can use whatever kind of beans you like, I guess, you know, but most people use red kidney beans and pinto beans. Here is the meat that I'm going to be using. Here I have ground beef and I have sweet Italian sausage. And I pulled the sweet Italian sausage from out of the fat. You know, the fat that they wrap around the meat. I pulled the fat off and I squeezed the meat out of the sweet Italian sausage. And like I said, I'm going to be using ground beef. You can use ground turkey or ground chicken. I know a lot of people like to eat healthy. My mom, she likes to eat healthy, so she usually uses ground turkey or ground chicken. But I'm going to be using ground beef since that's the standard way to make it and the traditional way to make it. So make sure you have some ground beef and some sweet Italian sausage. A lot of people don't even use sweet Italian sausage, but again, we're making the world's best chili and beans, okay? So we always do things a little different on Philly Boy J's cooking show. So make sure you have that. Last but not least, you're going to need a green pepper and a onion. Make sure you get a nice sized onion. If you don't have a big onion, just use 2 small ones. That should be enough. But make sure you have an onion and green pepper. Some people like to use celery. You can add that too. Chop it up into really small pieces. I don't use celery personally. I use celery salt to give it that celery flavor. But go out and get some celery. Try that out if you want to. And by the way, if you don't have diced tomatoes, you can use a regular tomato. Like that there. Just chop it up into small pieces. And there you have diced tomatoes. Okay. Okay guys, so you're going to get a pot and you're going to place it over high heat. you're going to get your ground beef and your sweet Italian sausage. And you're going to add that to the pot. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get us a stir. The sweet Italian sausage just has to be chopped up a lot because it's a little tougher than the ground beef. And you're gonna let this go until we get nice and brown. I like to overcook my ground beef and sweet Italian sausages a little bit. Now I know some of you saying, why didn't he add any oil? Because most people add oil to their skillet or pot. I don't do that because the ground beef already has enough oil in it, so I don't feel the need to add any oil. As you can see, it's creating its own juice. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your can of pinto beans and your can of red kidney beans, and you're going to drain them. That's what we're going to do now. Going to drain the beans. So we're going to drain these. Red beans, and I'm going to drain my pinto beans. And that's the way they should look, like that. You can rinse them off a bit if you like. We're gonna let them fry along with it a little bit. We're also going to go ahead and add our minced garlic. I'm gonna add about that much there. This is really strong, so you don't want to add a lot. Told you guys that in my other videos where I use minced garlic. Minced garlic is really, really strong, so don't use a lot. Use about a teaspoon of that. Give this another stir. And I like to add a little bit of sauce first, so add a little bit. I'm going to add all of the diced tomatoes. And I'm going to scoop out all of this tomato paste. I'm going to get my big spoon. I'm going to stir that in. And I'm not going to add that much sauce because I like mine to be on the thicker side. I want it to look like that. What you're going to do, you're going to reduce this heat now to medium low. So put it on about 3 or 4 if you got numbers on your knob. Okay? Just want it to look like that. And now we're going to go ahead and add our beans. I'm going to add the beans now. And we're going to stir them in. We're going to add some beef broth now. And we're going to let the chili simmer. But what we're going to do first is we're going to add our season. And I'm going to tell you guys the recommended amounts to use. I have my cumin. That's about 1 tablespoon of cumin. I have 1 tablespoon of oregano. I have a half a teaspoon of cayenne. This is about 1/4 cup of chili powder. I got 1 teaspoon of pepper. I have 1 teaspoon of celery salt, and I have a little bit of onion and garlic powder that I'm going to use. Even though that's not a part of the recipe, I'm going to try it out. So I'm going to pour all this in here now. That's my season. And I'm also going to add 4 tablespoons of brown sugar. And that chili powder is darkening up our chili. I can smell that coming season. Cumin smell good. And the brown sugar adds a nice sweetness to it. You can also add a bay leaf to your chili if you want. Okay, so I'm going to let this simmer for about a half an hour on low heat without a top. And that'll be pretty much it. That's how you make the world's best. I said the world's best chili and beans. Get back with you guys when it's done. Let the simmer on low heat for half an hour. 20 minutes, the minimum. If you don't feel like waiting a half an hour, let it go for at least 20 minutes. And guys, it is absolutely delicious. This is the final result. It's really thick the way I like it. it's a really good taste. I want you guys to try this recipe out. Follow the instructions exactly, use the correct amount of seasons that I used, and you will see that this is truly the world's best chili and beans recipe. I wish you guys the best of luck. I really love the way this came out. This was absolutely delicious, the best chili and beans that I've ever had in my life. A lot of the different seasons that I use, I added myself. So I'm always trying to experiment and do something new and unique and be creative to, you know, become a better cook. So, you know, I really added some things to this recipe, and I experimented a few times, and it just really resulted in a really delicious dish. I will also recommend that you guys try this out with some nachos, some shredded cheddar cheese, and some sour cream. Peace.